Hi, my name is S. Robert Morgan, and I am the founder and artistic director of the Essential Theater. And welcome to our new play reading series in Washington, D.C. The new play reading series is an incubator for new plays wherein we accept plays from what has become an international submission process. And the plays that we accept, we generally develop over a 3-year period, and we develop them through 6 very different kinds of readings. 3 of the readings are open to the general public for public engagement, and 3 of them are closed, limited to participating artisans and other practicing theater professionals who are invited into the process to sort of engage in what can be a very challenging dramaturgical conversation about the nuts and bolts of play development, because ultimately what we're seeking is the well-made play. The first public reading has generally been at the Kennedy Center as a part of its page to stage process. And it's generally heightened readers' theater with just actors behind music stands reading what is essentially the second draft of the play for public, because most of these plays that come into the process have never been read in public before. And so this is the first time they've been read. The second reading, public reading, is the first time that we see the play up on its feet, with actors moving about the stage with blocking to see, how this works as a vehicle for the theater. And the third and final reading is where we start to add obligatory set pieces and costume pieces. And by obligatory, we mean those things that help the play move along, those pieces that are absolutely necessary in order for us to further, that assists in furthering the dramatic action of the plot. What we ultimately want to see is the world premiere of the play. And so you've had an opportunity to open a window to understand how plays are developed for the American theater, and that you will continue to ride along with us on this journey. Thank you.
Hello and happy Black Theater Day. I am Perry Gaffney, today's moderator and serving dramaturg for our Sunday, September 28th, 2:30 p.m. ceremonial reading of Rock of Ages. And welcome to the Essential Theater's Black Theater Day celebration. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we all gather today is the traditional and unceded territory of Native Americans. We offer our respect to their elders, both past and present, and to all Indigenous peoples who are online with us today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is a small first step in honoring the truth of our shared history. We commit to a process of deeper learning and to supporting Indigenous communities in their ongoing work toward justice and sovereignty. This evening, as we celebrate Black Theater Day, we want to remember the reason why this day is so special. The day is to honor and commemorate the founding of our first known Black professional theater in these United States, the African Grove Theater, founded September 17th, 1821. Happy 204th birthday to the African Grove Theater Company.
Yes.
Yee-hee.
Yes. Yes.
We should also first be grateful by thanking the thoughtful ingenuity of the sisters and brothers at the Craft Institute and the International Black Theater Summit for inviting us to take part in this global celebration of us and how we, with our own history, our own language, give heft to America's storied history.
Mhm.
Now, in celebration and in honor of the occasion, the Essential Theater in Washington, D.C. will host a ceremonial reading of the play Rock of Ages by Iska to relaunch its play development program, the Essential Theater's new play reading series. You saw the introduction that explained what the play development program is and its mission, critical work to contribute to the American theater canon. For more information, please visit www.theessentialtheater.org. We are thrilled to have as our panelists the director of the reading of the play Rock of Ages. She is an actress and playwright who was among the first Black actors in Washington, D.C. to receive the coveted Helen Hayes Award in 1990. Kaia
Woohoo!
Calhoun. Come
Great
on.
to be here. Great to be here.
Yes. We also have the honor of having Washington, D.C. theater stalwart, having performed the role of Harriet Tubman full time for over 35 years throughout the United States and abroad, the award winning commercial and voiceover artist, Gwendolyn Briley Strand.
My
Let's see a little,
pleasure to be here.
all
Thank
right,
you. Thank you.
let's see a little bit of her work.
My name is Gwendolyn Briley Strand, and I'm an actor. Now, an actor's job is to use their voice, their body, their imagination to pretend to be someone else. Well, this morning I've come here to pretend to be a great American from our history, Harriet Ross Tubman. Now, Harriet.
And yes. And please open your tent doors wide for our 2025 Helen Hayes Award winner
Yes.
for Outstanding Leading Performer in a Play for her
Woohoo!
work. Yes,
Hi,
her work in the
everybody.
Essential Theater's production of Zora, Kesia DeRolli.
Hello.
Welcome, Kesia. Let's
Thank
check her out.
I am crazy about the idea of this democracy. I want to know how it feels. Therefore, I am for the repeal of every Jim Crow law in the nation here and now. These laws have been put on the books for a purpose, and that purpose is psychological.
Lovely, lovely. Oh, and let's not forget you, my dear. Ladies and gentlemen, she is an actor who could sell you sand on a beach, and she is a two-time Helen Hayes Award nominee. You already met her, our moderator, Sister Perry Gaffney. I just thought y'all needed to know that.
Thank you.
Go ahead, let's see Miss Perry.
Till we got too big to all fit. And then Daddy said I had to get out. Why? Why I got to be the one to get out? I was in it first. Samuel was whining and squirming around because he couldn't fit all the way in. And that's how come Daddy said I had to get out in the first place. Out now, Alice.
Very nice.
We also want to acknowledge our ASL interpreters. Y'all wave to them now.
Woohoo!
That is the extent of my sign language. Y'all know how to sign. I might take a class so I can communicate with everybody. The classes are free right in the library where the reading will take place on the 28th of September at 2:30 p.m. As we continue to celebrate today, we want to be mindful of what the play reading audiences will experience on Sunday, the 28th of September, at the Dorothy I. Height Community Library in Washington, D.C. And you know, it is no coincidence that we're hosting the event at a library named for a civil rights pioneer
Mm. Mhm.
and the only woman permitted at the table during the planning of many of the pivotal activities during that period.
Right.
What audiences will experience will be a play that uses the 1968 Memphis trash worker strike as a backdrop to highlight many of the same issues we're facing today.
And let's be clear, this play wasn't written yesterday.
Mm-mm.
It was initially written in 1987, 88, about the period of 1968. And we can actually parallel the issues today.
Absolutely. You know, in my reading, my own reading of the play, I developed my own overarching themes, and I want our viewers to consider and to think about what these themes are and what we are considering,
Mhm.
because we do expect you all to participate
Mhm.
using the chat box with either your questions and or comments.
So before we get too far, I would like to share the play's synopsis with our participants because we do want you all in the
Mhm.
cyberspace to engage with us.
That's right.
The 1968 Memphis trash worker strike serves as the backdrop on which this new play is painted. It invites audiences to observe a church of the times as it ponders the necessity of women's voices in church business, as it weighs the church's further involvement in acts of civil disobedience following the murder of its previous pastor. The church is also grappling with addressing an out of wedlock pregnancy of a mentally retarded member. Before we go further, I want to just allow our director for the reading to talk about her approach to these issues and how they might resonate with current day audiences.
Well, I see that in two different questions. So I'm going to begin with the approach. It's pretty standard, but expedited because it's a reading. So directors do text analysis. They suss out the super objective of the play. What are we all aiming to say?
Mhm.
The playwright's tone. Pacing is always important, especially if a play has a lot of dialogue.
Mhm.
And so the approach is to get them to be as authentic and lifelike as possible. So, one next step would be context to give them a sense of where this is happening, what has
Mhm.
happened
Mhm.
before. We
Mhm.
know that the 60s were fraught with assassinations of political kinds. This play has a hint of not only Martin Luther King's assassination, but also Medgar Evers, and
Mhm.
strangely,
Right.
even Malcolm X's father's killing on the railroad tracks.
Mhm.
This to send a message. So we want also in this instance to let the audience feel like they are part of the action. So
Mhm.
engagement is the thing that we want. We want buy-in. We want your shared emotions. And
Mm.
if you feel free to say, hey, amen, go for it.
Please do.
Because we
Please.
want
Amen.
that
Amen.
kind of feeling. One other thing I would say, just little secrets and things that I will tell the actors, is that a lot of the things that go on are right before the assassinated Reverend Gibson's funeral. So it puts a kind of urgency in what they're saying because that's the underpinning. He has to leave his replacement, Reverend Lightman. He has to leave because he has to prepare for his eulogy. So it's all kinds of interesting things that will
Mhm.
determine the underpinnings of how actors say it.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you'll join me.
Well, thank you so much, Kaya, for that explanation. I love that. As I read the play, I too came up with some ideas that I feel like we are continuing to deal with and the same issues that we are talking about, even though we are talking about 1968 and the civil rights movement, it does seem so far away, but it was only 1968. It seems too parallel and too similar. It begs the question, how much progress have we not made in that time?
Mm.
Well, you said in your speech, Zora, that you are thrilled about the idea of
Mhm.
democracy.
Mm.
The
All right.
idea is the operative word.
Yes, it
Amen.
is. Yes. And I don't know if everyone has heard about the recent bodies found hanging from trees
Mm.
in Mississippi.
Yes.
I think we read there were two young men in the same day. A 21-year-old Black student at Delta State University. His name was Demar Trayvon Reed. He was known as Trey. The medical examiner has called the death a death. Says there's not enough evidence to prove whether it was homicide or suicide. The other young man was found hanging from a tree in Vicksburg, Mississippi. A 36-year-old white man. Very little was information was given about him or released. Oh, they did say that he was homeless. You know, these deaths evoke the very dark period of U.S. history.
Yes.
Mm.
A very, 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 unfortunately, very dark history.
And
It
continuous, it
It's
seems.
not just history, it's present day.
Well,
Uh-huh.
and you know, when we think about the political crisis and marginalized voices that have always been strategically utilized or silenced
Mm-hmm.
by
Mm-hmm.
institutions, we see that actually happening on campuses right now, all over
Yeah.
America,
Yeah.
consistently. We used to have the church to come to as a solace, and we used to have a space. But does this actually reveal a lot about the hierarchy of power versus the rhetoric of equality that we
Mm.
keep talking about?
Yeah.
And then does the political calculus for religious institutions, when it's spiritual duty to actually oppose injustice, conflicts with their own desire for self-preservation and public
Wow.
order? How do we maneuver? How do we dance in that delicacy? We pride ourselves here in America often saying that we have a separation of church and state. But
Mm.
when we look at history,
Mm.
time again, it never actually seems to be separate. The lines always seem to be blurred.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
cited some similar ideas, very general thoughts. This play addresses gender and race equality, authority issues within the church, shame and manipulation being used as tools, church politics versus government politics, mental illness, crime, and punishment. Kaya, what do you have?
Well, I'm thinking two things. One is that for me, the lead theme or leitmotif is Black church, its original, I would say, Christian values. It was a place for safety, where moral standards are. And the church that's more in line with, as the Bible says, the traditions of
Mm-hmm.
men. And there's a struggle between those two. In terms of the disabilities, today you would have protection in terms of the American Disabilities Act. It has to do with general bias across the board. There's nothing on that I know about that says a church cannot shame you. But what happens is if it in any way disturbs her quality of life and it's tax exempt, somebody would come knocking.
Mm. Mm.
So in that sense, we still have some freedoms even in this day. But I think also this playwright does a clever job in chronicling when the Black church pivoted.
Mm.
And so it would be my job to just bring some of that to the table. In other words, you have your protagonist, which is Lightman, who's standing for those good old Christian values and justice rolling down like a river. And then you've got Maddings, who's got an agenda. So, what I mean by the pivot is in these years, many things happen, but I want to say, which we all know, is to the day, 1 year later, Martin Luther King was killed. And he was killed because he did a speech. Well, we speculate, but 1 year to the day, he did a speech that rattled all kinds of cages. A speech about Vietnam, a speech about all of the progress, but you still have massive poverty. People still are not able to make a living wage. And that speech caused a lot of his comrades to retract. So, does this playwright intend to show us through these two characters and their agendas? Going to jail used to be a goal, but in this play, it's an issue for Deacon Maddings. So, was this the moment that we see the pivot when the church changes and they're more concerned about the reputation than the actual value of loving people and redemption and salvation?
Wow.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love the names. Reverend Lightman, he brings the light.
Yes.
Deacon
It's allegory.
Maddings, that man is mad all the time.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I tried to find some connection to Silas. Like, is it the seven seals? You know. So, you know, girls gonna be looking. But yeah.
And to our viewers, what we would like for you to do is place in the chat box your thoughts on current day issues that are similar to or the same as those being protested in the synopsis I shared. And I'll share it again. The 1968 Memphis trash workers' strike serves as the backdrop on which this new play is painted. It invites audiences to observe a church of the times as it ponders the necessity of women's voices in church business, as it weighs the church's further involvement in acts of civil disobedience following the murder of its previous pastor. The church is also grappling with an out of wedlock pregnancy of a mentally retarded member. What issues of civil and social or human rights are inherent in that?
Well, you know, in this play that everyone will see on Sunday, September 28th, at the library, it deals with many of the same issues that we're dealing with now, still today. For example, the place women should have in the church as preachers as well as pastors. The sexual identity question, even a dress code that we have in the church. The role the church has played in civil disobedience and politics really is vitally important. It's the same as it was during the time of our enslavement, during Jim Crow, during the civil rights movement. Oh, Lord. And especially today.
Kesia, let us know if something comes in the chat, please.
Oh, absolutely. I'm here checking.
Present day violation of civil and human rights, incendiary discourse driving society to violence as its form of civic discourse. We all just saw an example of this last week in Utah.
Because I actually disagree with you on that point, must that actually drive anybody to an extreme?
No.
No, I don't. I disagree.
A popular quote by the conservative Charlie Kirk is that we have to accept the reality that a small amount of gun deaths is the price we pay for freedom.
Mm.
The Second Amendment is non negotiable.
Oh my God.
When you start following man's laws over God's law, God has the law of love, your neighbor as yourself,
Mm-hmm.
do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and forgiving. And this person was defending the Second Amendment.
Mm. And forgiveness is for us. It's for you,
Correct.
not for the.
You know, it's unfortunate that we are still constantly talk about these ideas. It almost feels exhausting.
Yeah.
And I wonder and I don't want to say to what point, but when you have someone as conservative and whose belief system is raised in the church and what we understand or what we believe what the church is,
Mm.
what are we ending up fighting for? Outside of the right to live, outside of the right to love, outside of the right of civility and human connection.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like the temperature is just so hot right now that I'm not sure what we are actually fighting for. Why are we fighting for the
Right.
right to bear arms? To
Mm.
what end? What are we fighting for?
Mm.
We used to know.
I think chaos is part of the agenda.
Yeah.
It is. It is. That's true. So true, Kaia.
Because if you divide, you can conquer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want people to join together. They want to keep you individual.
What
in
did
the same.
Lincoln say? Which is a scripture: a house divided against itself cannot what?
Cannot
So they
stand.
clearly want to dismantle it
Yeah.
intentionally.
Yeah.
And to see how far we actually have progressed from 1968 and to see all of that progression like a Jenga board just slowly being taken down. I do hope that people are engaged and are aware and how important these stories need to be heard and uplifted, and we need to continue to have these very important conversations.
Yes. Yes. Our stories have to be told.
Yes.
Don't take that lightly. Don't take that light. It is so important.
Yes.
Our stories must be told. Our children cannot forget.
Right.
We won't be here forever.
Right.
So I want to leave this planet, this place, this country better off than I found it. We must tell our own. Don't leave our story for someone else to tell.
Because they're already being erased officially, and the
Yes.
books are being banned,
Right.
Yes.
and institutions are being dismantled, like the Smithsonian attacked the HBCUs.
The Library of Congress.
Libraries.
Yeah.
And just so our audience remembers, the reading of Rock of Ages is at 2:30 p.m. on Sunday, September 28th. You want to arrive when the doors open because space is limited. And I think you will enjoy the pre-show enrichment, I'll call it. It's free, and you must register on the company's website, www.theessentialtheater.org. Kesia, what you got?
Well, let me see what we have over here in our chat box. All right, I don't see any engagement, but we can continue talking about the play Rock of Ages. I do have a question for you, Kaia.
Yeah.
As we were talking about the young girl, and I know that we brought up her being mentally retarded, can you speak a little bit more about how you went to tackle that subject and her position in that in the church?
Well, again, I'm going to defer to what the playwright said, which was hugely important, because I'm thinking, oh, okay, what kind of intellectual disability? You know, I don't want to get this wrong, where we're sending it up or playing at, but he actually talked about the source of it. And again, she had a cognitive disability, which made her behavior erratic. And he speculates, so it's not fact, that it was based on trauma. So if there is some traumatic incident that causes her to be unstable at times, then we have a lead in to the horror that happens at the end of the play, which I will not disclose. But it gives the artist something to play with, to work inside out, as opposed to try to depict some physical disability. Audiences are very empathetic. If you don't feel it, they don't feel it. So it'll be an interesting, wonderful journey that we'll go through so that we can have that trajectory from her coming in, wanting her baby, some of the things that we were talking about earlier, the rights of mothers without family and parent rights, where now you can't just take a child because you deem that person unfit. It's a whole process. So for me, looking at these things in terms of the characters, another thing he said, which really answered a question, there's a section where he said, I'm from the Holiness Church. And when they have that moment in that office with her, that's real. Well, what that said to me was, wow, because usually when you see in culture somebody's giving you holiness, it's kind of a mockery. It's a laugh thing. But he was insistent. That's real. So that's going to be a dichotomy.
Yes,
of
yes.
Nobody's business.
Right.
And that's exciting theater because we're going in for the real and we're not trying to act at, right?
Yeah.
Even in readings, you know, if you go there, your
Yes.
thing is intellectually clean, you know what you're there to do, you're going to deliver. And what's wonderful is that it might be a surprise. It might be a steely, silent eruption. Who knows? But it's most important is that is organic and that is real.
All right.
And I guess the only thing I would add in terms of how things are reflecting, you know, they say his story, right? Well, one reason why I think we keep going through this is because our story keeps getting stolen. So to Gwen's point, we got to tell the story because you know the story, the history is written by the winners, right? So we got to, you know, budge in. And even if it's griots or at the fireside or the cookout, the story has to
Has to be
continue.
told.
Otherwise, we face what we're facing, which is dismissal and absence. And that's hearkening back to Germany in the 30s. And another resonating is this whole voting thing, you know, redistricting and blah, 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 rolling back the voters' rights and the Civil Rights Act, and where they had oversight back then to make them be correct. We have other people. So it's important that we pass the story on.
Yes, yes.
I agree. I agree.
Yes, yes.
I was looking at the movie Gandhi, which is, I think it was in the 80s or early 90s. No, it was in the 80s because my mother was still alive. But he used civil disobedience, nonviolent, non-cooperation. And he died in 1948. That's when he was assassinated. And Dr. King went to India to learn his nonviolent, non-cooperative ways to bring them here. And that was the whole struggle during the 50s and 60s. You will not fight back, but you will not cooperate. Right. That is so much harder to do. That is so much harder.
Absolutely.
We can.
What I love about the Gandhi story, I'm sorry, did I interrupt?
No,
sorry.
go ahead, dear.
I was just going to say that in South Africa, you know, he had to have a card like the Africans.
Right.
And it's interesting that the way Indians see themselves in India as white. So it's really fascinating how culture will change the paradigm. And I didn't know that until I saw that film.
And something that also is interesting, Gandhi was against the untouchable class
Yes.
He was not against the caste system.
Right.
He was not against that. He believed in that. He just said nobody should be called
Untouchable.
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 Yeah.
And so that's not quite equality either. Everybody, you know,
Has their own version
right, right, right.
of equality. Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But we should think of equality as civility at first. I think we've forgotten what equality also means. Civility is a hefty,
Oh.
So true.
hefty part of it.
Mm.
So true.
And you have to, and the basis of that is respect. You don't have to agree, but you got to respect people
Yeah.
and give them
Yes.
their freedom to believe what
Yes.
they believe, and you believe that's DEI, which has been done away with.
Right.
No more diversity, no more inclusion, no more.
That's such a good point, Perry. Respect.
Respect. Yep.
Respect the humanity of each other.
Mm.
No questions from our audience?
No, unfortunately, we don't have any. I hope someone joins soon. But I
But
love
I hope, yeah, I hope all of this we have stirred up in your spirit things that you can think about and talk about with your families, with your friends, and tell your story. Tell your personal stories, as well as our history.
Mm.
Tell your personal stories, your children and grandchildren.
There
My
are so
brothers and
many
sisters.
great people living.
They should know where you came from.
They live in your family, though.
Yeah,
They're
in
in
your
your
family.
family.
Your
And maybe books weren't written about them. I have a friend whose mother graduated valedictorian from high school when she was 13
Mhm.
in North Carolina. Her father said, "You're too young to go to college at 13." So she went when she was 14. And she graduated from Spelman University, valedictorian
You go, girl.
at
Amen.
18.
Mm.
And she was a little bitty lady. And she went back to her high school to teach history. And she was the same age as the
As the
seniors
kids,
and smaller than probably everyone.
isn't it?
And they took offense. And then the guys were trying to rap to her, not realizing, oh, she part of the faculty until they realized. And
That's
so
wonderful.
she did that for 1 year,
Yeah.
and then she went on to California because they had a law back then. If you feel that you are being discriminated against educationally in the college and higher education, if you can pass the test, then you can come to California for free. So she went to Berkeley and she got a master's in Spanish.
Mhm.
And she came back to North Carolina and she was a professor at like 22.
All right. All right.
And then she decided to get her PhD because the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, they
Uh-huh.
had just for the very first time admitted 5 Black men to their
Mm.
law school. And she thought, oh, they're letting Black people in. So she applied.
Uh-huh.
And they look and they say she was valedictorian at 13, at 18, she a
Uh-huh.
professor at 22. Yeah, come on. And she said in the thing, I don't live in Chapel Hill, and so I'm going to need to stay in the dorm. And I am a Negro woman. She wrote that in the comments
Ah.
because there was no race category because it was all white people. So
Uh-huh.
when she showed up, this little black spot, they looked at her like, no. This is a mistake. And she said, no, it's
Mhm.
not. And then she showed them her papers. And they were going to close the language department
Of
to
course they
keep
would.
her out. And some other professors said, oh, come on, stop it. All the professors we got, all the students that are going to, just give her her own room. And so she got her own room. They named a building after her for being the first Black woman
Marvelous.
to matriculate there. I think it
Marvelous.
was in 2022. But her name was
Marvelous.
Gwendolyn Harrison. Her married name is Smith.
All right.
Another
And
choir.
I met her, and I didn't know that about her. It's just little tiny choir dynamo.
Wow. I mean, we are a great people.
Mm.
We come from a great legacy. And we should be sharing it, sharing our individual stories.
Mhm.
Because as Black people, ooh, survival is a daily
Mm.
thing.
You know, Gwen, I tried to stay off of socials often, but I got this social media post from this lovely lady. She's European, and she often asks about what's going on in our politics. And she sent me this email, and I would love to read it to you guys. She said,
Yes, please.
as a white European watching this situation in the US, this beautiful lady, speaking of me, she's smart, has made me aware of how the US Black population simply has not risen to the provocation of the regime. This means that the Black US population is instinctively aware of what is happening and trying to create. Collective Black intelligence is averting civil war. And
Ooh,
I was just like,
woo!
we
You
are
got it.
connected.
You got it.
She got it.
Yeah, and so many of our white brothers and sisters get it.
Yeah.
But they have got to be more vocal.
Correct.
Mhm.
They have got to stand up. I think of King's letter from Birmingham jail when he asked the white preachers and pastors, "Where are you?
Yeah.
I'm in jail. Where are you? Where is your voice? You say and you talk of equality, but you got to put your feet where
Yeah.
your mouth is."
I should let everyone know we do have one saying, I am moved by this union of Black voices and viewpoints united on this day. Happy Black Theater Day.
Happy Black Theater Day.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here with
Thank
you
you.
ladies. Such a
I want to thank all of the panelists. Thank the audience. We look forward to seeing you at the reading at the Dorothy I. Height Community Library in Washington, D.C. on the 28th of September at 2:30. That's next week, Sunday. Sunday?
yes. Yes. It's on Benning Road. Do we have the address?
Two,
It just flashed. Mhm.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
39, right? 35 Benning Road, Northeast Washington, D.C. 20019.
Come and bring your church fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I got a church fan. My tambourine too. I got a tambourine, girl.
The doors open at 2, and you want to see that pre-show enrichment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God
Come on
bless
out.
you all. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. God bless.
God bless.